TV universe on the stream.tv. I'm Tatiana with the Flash podcast, and my boys are all out because of holidays or work, but I've got some other boys here who are just as good. While you're waiting to hear what we have to say about the show, make sure that you check out Lance Ospresser's Facebook groups, especially the Flash Facts, discussing the show. All right? First, we've got Alvin.
What's going on? This is Alvin Rueda, and this week has been ridiculous with the mid-season finale. So I can't wait to start discussing these guys. And let me introduce you to the newbie in town, our latest recruit, the one and only Jordan. Actually, it's Jordan.
Jordan Mosley, yes. It is spelled Jordan, but that's okay. Anyways, yes, I'm here talking about Legends today, and I'm very excited to get into this. I've got some very exciting things to talk about, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Starting off, we had the Flash mid-season finale called The Present, which was a very apt title for it.
Yeah.
And we started off the episode with Barry getting to visit Earth 3, finally. So what did you guys think about the Earth 3 visit? I really loved the sort of Batman animated series vibe, right?
Yeah. I thought definitely it was like Tim Burton-ish Batman, like Batman Returns. So back in the 90s, and even with the Trickster, it kind of reminded me of like Penguin Joker-ish, kind of like combined together, and I thought it was awesome. But in the back of my head, Barry, do not mess this Earth up.
It was a much happier Earth with Jay as the Flash.
It was a lot more jolly. Like even the criminal, like even the Trickster was just he was so happy. And like Mark Hamill is fantastic, and I love Mark Hamill. And I was like, whenever he gets to do the Joker type of voice, I'm always just ecstatic about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he did an amazing job of being different enough from our Earth's Trickster that at first it's like, I knew Mark Hamill was going to be in it, but at first it didn't. It's like, who is that? It's Mark Hamill playing the jokester.
Right.
The jokester.
just a single detail of changing his costume around from the different kind of dimensions. I thought it just brought out a whole different world just from right there. Even though they didn't really show a lot of the different locations of the city, just looking at him, you were like, oh man, Earth 3 is so cartoony and animated.
You felt that difference in the dialogue too.
It was like the 50s.
Exactly. Yeah, and it wasn't like steampunk the way that Earth 2 was, but it was sort of just had that like really like peppy comic book animated series vibe. That was great. And I love seeing Jay as sort of like that wise old speedster just trying to get other people to fall in line. He's a really good mentor for Barry so far. I think.
It's just great seeing him in that costume again. Just because of the old school Flash when he used to play it. So he probably loves it. They all look like they're having a ton of fun out there. So how about, let's talk about Julian.
Yeah, a little less fun. Julian finally discovering that he is actually alchemy. And I want to point out that I was correct about this from the start. I knew that Julian would not know that he was alchemy.
Right.
Because it was foreshadowed with Magenta not knowing.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Frankie not knowing that she was Magenta.
Makes sense,
Yeah. So, it's nice that it's finally a different play on the whole, like, the person that we liked actually turns out to be betraying us. Because he doesn't know he's doing it.
Right.
So, what did you guys think?
But I loved it because, from the start, when Julian came in the scene after Barry messed up the whole timeline, they hated each other. Well, at least he hated him. And as soon as they introduced the character, it was like, all right, it looks like there's a connection here, but you don't know to what extent. And when they finally revealed it, and the way they revealed it was so phenomenal because they took it back, like, where it derived from.
Yeah.
And it was like such a mummy feeling to me. And then out of nowhere, it's just like, all right, he did it, but he doesn't know that he's doing it, which is, they kind of turn it around and not have it like so direct.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You took everything I was going to say, you said it. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But yeah, it was like, first off, he had like an Indiana Jones vibe.
No.
And secondly,
it
it was an interesting backstory. Just knowing, especially how it connected to what we're about to talk about. But like how he lost someone that he loved, and that's how Savitar gets you, right? That's like the opportunity to be able to be reunited with your loved ones, because that's sort of like the purest motivation that you can find.
Right.
For someone to turn evil, right?
Exactly. It's true.
What was I going to say about it? Oh, here's my one thing with it. I don't like this whole like, oh, I was digging in India, for the Hindu god of speed. So if Savitar takes off his mask or whatever, takes off his robot costume, and he's a white man inside, I'm gonna be looking at you guys. Cast that right, David Rappaport. Cast that right.
Oh, David Rappaport.
But now Cisco, right? Cisco paralleled Julian in this storyline. So
Yeah.
how did you guys feel about, Jordan, how did you feel about Cisco releasing Savitar?
I thought it was a very good way, 'cause like you said, the best way to manipulate somebody is through something they love. And the way that they went about that, I thought was fantastic. And him having to face his brother and be like, to choose between what he knows isn't real, but it could feel so real, and then have to close that box up, like that's a terrible decision you have to make. And I don't know if I'd be able to do it. You know, I think maybe I would be, but it'd be very difficult, very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, Cisco wasn't in the right mind, and while watching that whole thing, I was just like, Cisco, why? and you know what? Cisco is probably my favorite character in the whole show. And not having the fun Cisco this season, it just kills me a little bit. He kind of brings back those jokes a little bit, and he brings back movie references again, but he's still not fun Cisco, you know? I want that fun Cisco back.
Right.
From season 1 and 2. And I was hoping after the crossover episodes, you know, he forgave Barry, and now Cisco's back. But now he's still going through all these things, opening up the box, saying it's his fault, and please, Cisco, just come back. we all forgive you. Things happen.
I think this will be the closure point for him, but I have really loved Carlos's performance throughout. He's really gotten to show new depths to Cisco.
Right.
Even as heavy as it's been, and you know, like how it's depressing as it is to watch, at least I get to see how phenomenal his talent is.
Well, it
you
looks
know?
like the comic relief switched from
Right.
like Cisco to HR.
Exactly. That's why they brought in HR, so that
Exactly.
Cisco can be depressed for a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, all right, we'll change HR a little bit. So Cisco,
Yeah.
you're depressed now.
Right.
And it's all right.
Speaking of depressing things, while Julian was speaking with Savitar's voice, he gave us the prophecy, right?
Right,
One shall betray you, one shall fall, and one shall suffer a fate worse than death. And then Barry runs into the future through the Speed Force, thanks Speed Force, and sees Iris getting murdered by Savitar. So obviously, after that, that's literally all I can think about. That's my entire hiatus right there.
Yeah.
But I have to say, first off, amazing job, Grant Gustin, in that scene. It was like 30 seconds long, but they both did an amazing job.
Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
Grant continued to do amazing in the scene with Jay afterward. Because like first it's like he's in shock, he's in denial, but he's also like a manic hopefulness that like, okay, well I can change it now because I just saw it, I'm gonna change it. And then Jay's like, don't think about it, otherwise you're not gonna change it.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever read Oedipus? Stop.
Have you learned nothing?
Exactly.
He'll never learn his lessons. So.
No, he will too learn his lesson. It's not that depressing. Okay, so
He wants to do the right thing. It's hard to always learn your lesson when you want to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're so focused on changing things or making things better that you don't notice what you're missing.
Right.
So I have lots of things to say about this prophecy, but first I want to hear y'all's thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, look, obviously the prophecy is going to lead into something big, and then everything is still deriving from that newspaper clipping of Future Flash. And especially now when they're looking at the paper and it's not written by Iris.
Yeah.
So automatically there, oh, something happened. And then he goes into the future and clueless to where he is, confused, even though he's seeing the news report and the date. But that's all right, Barry, I still forgive you on that one. You should know by now. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a hard obstacle to conquer, you know, as with anything else. And I'm just excited for the next season.
Yeah,
I mean,
the next
after the
half.
mid-season, next half of the season. So.
And when they talk about one will betray you, do you guys think that's Killer Frost?
Right. Okay. So I think everyone's going to be so focused on what they think the prophecy means that they're going to cause the prophecy to come true in a different way.
Bam.
So
That's
Caitlin is focused on she thinks she's the betrayer. You know she thinks that.
Yeah.
Right.
She's going to be Killer Frost. But it's going to be someone else, I think. And remember the vibe that Cisco got of him and Caitlin fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, we haven't seen that yet. So we think, oh, Caitlin's going to become Killer Frost and be evil,
Right.
but
Right.
what if it's Cisco? Not that I think Cisco would stay evil or anything, but I
Cisco's
think,
not going to be evil.
No, he wouldn't. Like
That's my
never.
boy,
That would never
Cisco.
happen. We love Cisco.
I know
They love
Cisco, he definitely can hold a grudge. Even
Yeah.
though when he had all the information
Yeah.
of why Barry did what he did, he still was like, no.
And we've seen Savitar manipulate him, so it could
Yeah.
happen again. And of course, it could be Caitlin because Julian he could still be possessed by Savitar the second he gets out of the box.
Right.
And he's got to come out of the box if he's going to kill Iris, right?
Yeah.
Which he's not. Iris is not going to die, guys. But anyway.
She can't die.
She can't die. No, okay. Finally. I think the newspaper is unconnected to the prophecy. I think that Iris's name changes in the newspaper for a different reason, which we won't find out until like the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like the newspaper will never change. But at the end of the season, like she gets a job as a TV reporter instead.
Right.
Right.
And so that, because they've repeated over and over again, and it's true, like in the comics and real life, whatever, Barry can't be the Flash without Iris. So how could Barry be the Flash in that newspaper article if Iris is dead? Like 8 years after Iris dies, Barry's still the Flash? It's not true.
Didn't
Iris
get
is not
dead.
dead in that future.
So some theories. All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's
Mind
my thought.
blown. All right. I see that.
But yeah, I think someone else.
But then maybe he maintains to be the Flash because something terrible happens to Iris.
So he's like trying to
So
save
yeah, he's
Iris?
like, I'm gonna be the Flash because I'm gonna freaking avenge my love.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like I just bought her an apartment. Like, dang, we got-
They do have a new apartment.
I don't
like
want to
that.
pay this note by myself.
Exactly.
I need her back.
And that's
It's like, you know what, Savitar, you're gonna pay her cut. Okay? You're gonna pay her percentage of this.
that looks like an expensive apartment too. It's either the cost of living in Central City is like really low, or he really gets paid a lot.
Well, he owns Star
Forensics
Labs.
is where it's at.
They don't, like, I don't know how Star Labs is making money, but that's how all of them are getting paid.
Well, it's a non-profit organization, right?
Apparently. Because otherwise Cisco and Caitlin should live on food stamps.
Yeah.
But moving on to happier things, we got a lot of great team-ups this episode. The Flash family's really coming together. You know, we got to see both Jay and Barry and Wally and Barry get their butts kicked together. So how did you feel about that?
That was awesome. I mean, Wally, you know, he's just like in full of piss and vinegar, right? You know, young, dumb, full of cum is what they say. The dude is always just like, I'm gonna do this. He has like, he's all zeal without knowledge, right? He just wants to go after things. And it's like, you know what's gonna happen eventually. Like even in the crossover when he like runs over there and all he does is like tap a few people over and then he gets taken down. And, you know, Wally, you know, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's like a teenager just trying to like make a name for himself. He doesn't have any wisdom, you know? But hopefully he'll gain some. I think he'll gain some sooner or later.
Did you enjoy seeing that?
Oh, of course I did. You know, when Wally drives, you know, he's been driving and racing, and he's always wanted to be fast. And then back, especially seeing his little girlfriend in Earth 2, like he's like, oh my God, she's a speedster too. and
It must be amazing.
It's an amazing feeling. He wants to be fast, and now he thinks he's like the conqueror of the world, having this power. And I'm just like, hey man, settle down. You need some training. Just because you can run fast doesn't mean you have all the ability to stop powerful forces. Like, he needs to check it down, you know, a little bit. But it's cool seeing it, Kid Flash. Hopefully, he'll team up with, you know, Rory and stuff like that, and something will happen in the future for a new show. You never know.
I have to back on that prophecy of who will betray. What if it could be Wally? Because when someone like Wally is so bent on his power, that's somebody that can be corrupted.
I can see that.
So maybe it's Wally's
Like,
the one that's
I'm
betrays.
positive that Barry's going to tell them about the prophecy eventually because they're going to work as a team to save Iris.
Right.
So if Wally thinks that Barry can't save Iris, he could do something to try to do it instead.
You're right.
Right.
And that could end up accidentally being the betrayal. For sure. Speaking of Wally, he finally got his Kid Flash suit.
Yeah.
For Christmas, the best Christmas gift.
That's what I want for Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, come
It
on,
was-
give me a
and it
Kid
was-
Flash suit.
That was such a sweet and heartwarming scene, though. You know, especially after
was.
all this time of people trying to hold
Yeah.
Wally back. And thankfully, HR proved his usefulness.
Yeah.
You know, by convincing people that it's okay for Wally to be trained, because otherwise, he's gonna be looking for mentors.
Yeah, that's
elsewhere.
a very good point.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
HR does have a purpose on these episodes, which I'm loving, because for a second there I'm like, what are you doing, HR? What is your purpose on the show? What's your objective? But now that he's helping out Wally and he's kind of like the guiding light throughout the show when everyone's all depressed about things,
Right.
and HR is pretty much bringing the positivity about everything else. Especially with Wally, they would never give him that present if it wasn't for HR, first
Right.
of all.
Right.
But the way, I mean, it hit me right here when they gave him that present.
Yeah.
It brought
Aw.
a tear to my eye that, oh my God, he's now part of the team and
Yeah.
he's Kid Flash.
Like HR is known as like the wacky one, but he gives like little hidden tidbits of wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that you're like, oh, actually that was kind of wise what he just said. Oh,
He's
wow.
the hype man.
Yeah.
And the sort of like pseudo philosopher, if you will.
Right on.
Shayla Lopez in Avery Jackson both, two people in the chat have said that they think Joe is going to be the one that dies at the end of the season. That would be super depressing. Not as depressing as Iris dying, but like the second most depressing thing. But I guess it would follow like one of Barry's parents dies every season.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any parents left after
terrible.
that. And also, it would only happen if JLM has nothing better, or has better things to do, because they wouldn't let Jesse L. Martin go, I think.
No, I
He
don't
got to
think
be
so
like,
either.
bye guys, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, so it could be.
Well, let's not hope.
No,
No.
I don't hope it's. I don't want it to be Joe.
I appreciate it.
Not at all.
Let's not have it. Yeah, let's just pretend that no one's gonna die, and
right.
it's just bad guys that are gonna die. And it'll be
Julian
a
dies at
happy,
the end of the
perfect world.
season.
Yeah.
Bye, Julian.
Yeah. See you later, Julian.
He's about to date Caitlin, so that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then Andrew wanted to know who we think is gonna fall. And do you guys even think that fall means die? Because they said fall. He didn't say die.
Yeah.
And then he said fate worse than
fall.
death.
I mean,
Maybe someone literally trips.
What do
Right.
they exactly mean about that? Like, I mean, who's gonna fall? Are they like gonna fall into a different kind of personality? Are they gonna die right off the bat and get stabbed?
Fall from grace.
Fall
Fall into the
fall.
Speed Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think fall into
Right.
an evil.
Like, if you wanted to, Caitlin could fit all three. Like, Caitlin could betray the team by becoming Killer Frost, fall from grace by becoming Killer Frost, and suffer a fate worse than death because the worst thing in her mind is betraying the team by becoming Killer Frost. Done.
Yeah. Who knows? But
Final point before we sail off into the sunset of Arrow. Episode 10 is called Borrowing Problems from the Future. And you got to see a sneak peek of it, which I took a really horrible screenshot of.
I liked it. I thought it was awesome.
Like, it's like someone recorded it, and then I took a screenshot of their screenshot. Like, it's okay. But I did watch it on the app, and you guys should watch it too. But the scene is when Barry is really, really mad at Wally for saving the day by putting the guy who's on trial when Iris dies in jail. So Barry presumably was trying to let that guy go free, or like do something different so that somehow Iris would not die now. And everyone is wondering why Barry is being such a butt. So what do you guys think that Barry is? How quickly do you think he'll confess? That's my question.
How quickly
Will he confess to them that that's what's going on? Because they're going to wonder why he's acting this way.
I know he's pretty honest, but he holds information back for like the good of the team, right? So I don't know. I think it might be pretty quick, because when he's confronted, he does come up and tell the truth. I think so. It might be once he's confronted with it, I think he'll come out with it.
Well, with Barry, sometimes he's like way too impulsive, and he just does things without asking advice or anything like that. And that's how Flashpoint happened.
Right.
He lets his emotion gets to him, and I think that's what's gonna happen here too. He can never, everyone has flaws, and this speedster in particular has a big flaw with his emotions.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what's gonna happen in the next episodes. So we'll see.
We'll see how it unfolds. But yeah, before we head over to Arrow and see some really cool fan art from you guys, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Arrowverse.tv. It's a website, Arrowverse.tv, and you can look up all the latest updates on Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends. And you can leave comments. There's also a discussion forum there. So check it out. But first, check out fan art.